Humbling to be able to rise and speak to Part 9, Clause 9 of the Royal Society of New Zealand Amendment Bill and to hear about the fellows. And it is very humbling indeed to hear about some of the work that those fellows have undertaken to have reached this esteemed place within the the Royal Society of New Zealand Amendment Bill. And I think that the Royal Society of New Zealand must be thrilled to know that already we're up to Clause 9 of this bill, because as we heard in question time today, their expectation in 2010 is that it might take 5 years to get this piece of legislation through. So, you know, the fact that we are here today already up to Clause 9, I think must really, well, we're galloping through really, aren't we? But I hope and I know, in fact, that the society are very pleased with the amount of debate that's happening on this bill, because just last evening, in fact, I had the opportunity to host the Speakers Science Forum, which of course is done in conjunction with the Royal Society of New Zealand Amendment Bill. And as it was the last in the series that we're having in this parliamentary term, I had the opportunity to talk with the President, Di McCarthy, of the Royal Society of New Zealand. And she said to me that they're just so enjoying the debate that's happening around this bill, because really what she essentially said to me was that they don't feel that they've had so much publicity in many, many years as they've had from the debate of this bill. So pleased to be up to Clause 9 already talking about the fellows. And I do have some further questions for the member who is in charge of this bill, because what I noted when he talked to us about the process, and it's a very thorough and robust process in which the fellows get to become fellows through the Royal Society. My question is around the nomination process. So what we heard was that people go to a panel who assess the nominations, and once those nominations are accepted, that they stay viable, really, I guess would be the way I'd put it. They stay viable for a period of 5 years. Now, that means, as I understand it, that if they are unsuccessful in being the 12 esteemed people that following year who are accepted as fellows, that they can still keep their nomination coming back for 5 years before it has to be withdrawn, and then there's a period of, I guess, a cooling off period before they can nominate again. As we've identified in the course of debating this clause, that now including the humanities among the group of people from the discipline of humanities who can now nominate to become fellows, are we going to have a logjam effect created? So, for example, what I mean by that is that there are people now who will have nominated before this clause is changed. They won't be from the humanities, and therefore for another 4 years, I imagine that their names will continue to roll through this process. And does that mean that there are less opportunities, fewer opportunities, I should say, fewer opportunities for people who can newly nominate because they are in the discipline of humanities to get their name in the pool, so to speak? Now, you know, maybe I'm exposing my ignorance of this process, because I just realised I was talking about pools as if we're talking about a game of soccer or something like that. But I'm just trying to understand really how quickly we can expect that by amending this Clause 9 we are going to see the sort of diversity that I think certainly this side of the House has expressed a very keen interest to see, that we're hoping that by the inclusion of the humanities, by amending this Clause 9, that we will see more women, more Māori, some Pacifica by the sounds of it. It sounds like we haven't got any Pacifica people in that category at the moment, people from other ethnicities. I think we on this side of the House would want to see that diversity that is represented in the great academic work that is undertaken in this country. We want to see that happen sooner rather than later. And I suspect that the process of people's nominations staying live, as it were, for 5 years is going to make that somewhat difficult, that we will see that it might take longer than what we would hope in amending this clause.
Kelvin Davis.